When you talk with individuals in the scientific community, do you find that sometimes these kinds of approaches get more resistant because what you're doing is you're actually questioning their presuppositions upon which they've built their career?
Well, what you'll see in the book is when you meet a stranger, ask questions. You need to find something out about them. And so, like, for example, if they're a professor at a university and they got tenure, find out what their research interests are. Mm-hmm. I like to engage academics with something that's academic that's not exactly right in their discipline. I mean, I can engage them on their discipline, but I'll say, have you heard about this? So I'll try to pick something that they're not familiar with, but present it at a high academic level, which they will appreciate and say, I've never really considered that. Basically, I'm making the point, we need to integrate across the book of nature. Mm-hmm. And the problem with research science these days, it's hyper-specialized.
Yes, it is.
And because it's so hyper-specialized, people can't see the forest because of the trees. Right. So my job as an apologist and an evangelist is to help them see the forest. So I'll take them a little bit outside their discipline, not too far out, but enough where I'm not threatening their research, but I'm giving them something else to consider that could actually affect how they think about the research. And just realize, hey, there's much more to reckon with here. And I also try to encourage academics. You need to spend a little bit of your time focusing on the most important issues of life. And science can be so captivating that you never do that. Mm. And so, just talk about something a little bit outside their discipline. So like if I'm talking to a medical doctor, I might engage them about cosmology. If I'm talking to a cosmologist, I might talk to them about the latest research on birds and mammals. Or I might talk to them about geophysics instead of astrophysics. This is very interesting what you're studying. And what I try to do is talk to them about the research and find an additional piece of research that actually might be of interest to them. But most of the people I engage are not academics, but they're interested. I mean, the thing that impresses me about the Bible, it commands everyone who's a serious follower of Jesus Christ to be a scientist. We're all to study God's book of nature. But I also make the point and always be ready. In many respects, those of us in the 21st century are more ignorant about nature than people lived 4,000 years ago. We don't get to see stars like people did in the days of Job.
And we definitely don't study their movements.
And we don't have intimate contact with wild birds and mammals like they did back then. And one of the books I wrote was Hidden Treasures in the Book of Job, where I said, God designed these wild birds and mammals to teach us significant spiritual lessons. And people 4,000 years ago saw those lessons. People working in high-tech research labs don't.
Yeah. You had mentioned in the book also that some of your most fruitful discussions on spiritual issues with scientists were when you would take them out into nature.
Right.
And the argument from beauty is something that I've always been interested in because it is truly outside of both the scientific realm in some aspects and most kind of well-trodden arguments that atheists are against, but the idea that there is this beauty, that a sunset can't be just, reduced to wavelengths of light or something.
Well, I'll ask some questions like, okay, why is the scene that we're enjoying here in these alpine meadows so beautiful? Can you explain to me why it's so scenically beautiful? Or can you explain to me why we humans happen to be living at the most scenically beautiful time in the history of Earth? Is there an explanation for that? Or why are the right answers in physics always the ones described by the most elegant and beautiful equations?
Yes.
Explain to me why equations of mathematics are so beautiful and elegant. And so the beauty principle, and it's everywhere. And so what does that tell us about the author of creation?